We're standing at the gates of one of Sydney's most extraordinary hidden places, a sprawling 61-hectare estate on the edge of Iron Cove. This is Callan Park, one of the largest mental health institutions in New South Wales, a place built with hope, designed for care, but shaped by more than a century of human stories, some inspiring, some tragic, all deeply woven into the fabric of this city. And today, much of it is silent. Many of these buildings stand empty, and soon some may be gone forever. The Callan Park Hospital for the Insane, yes, that's what it was officially called in 1878, was born from a revolution in how we thought about mental health. Architect James Barnett, working with Dr. Frederick Norton Manning, embraced the moral therapy movement. The idea was simple: fresh air, natural light, and beauty could heal the mind. The design followed the American Kirkbride plan, with airy wards, long verandahs, and views over gardens and water. It was a radical shift from cramped prison-like cells of older asylums. When the first patients arrived, 44 men and women, they were stepping into what was meant to be the most progressive mental hospital in Australia. In the early decades, Callan Park was a world of strict routines. Patients rose with the sun, tended gardens, worked in the laundry or kitchens, and walked the grounds and supervised groups. The therapy here was much about order as it was about nature. But while the ideals were lofty, reality was harsher. Overcrowding began within years. By the 1890s, hundreds more patients were crammed into wards meant for far fewer. One superintendent wrote in 1898 that patients slept head to toe in dormitories so packed that nurses could barely move between the beds. Still, there were moments of humanity. Yeah, so there's a lot of buildings around here just like this, just sitting around all boarded up. Amazing though. It's very, very eerie. Very eerie. It's just so still and quiet out here. Really interesting place. Fascinating. I'm not quite sure what this building would have been. I've got a map that kind of shows all the buildings and that, but it doesn't actually kind of detail what each building is, just sort of sections of the areas. Next door to the main hospital stood Broughton Hall, an elegant private home during World War I convalescent hospital. Shell-shocked soldiers recovered here, surrounded by carefully designed gardens. In 1921, it became New South Wales' first voluntary psychiatric clinic, a place where people could seek help without being committed under the harsh Lunacy Act. By 1905, Callan Park also housed New South Wales' first hospital laboratory for mental disease pathology, decades ahead of much of the world. Medical students trained here from the 1880s, walking the same halls you see now, learning to read the human mind through science. Really old building, eh? Yeah, so we'll go a quick little walk through the gardens and that and just take a quick look, have a wee bit of a look around. Kind of actually really interesting. I must be one of the first people through here because I'm just catching all the spider webs too. It's really cool actually, really nice. It's a nice little glass house. It's got some plants and that inside. I like all the archways in here too, they're really cool. They really kind of make it just that extra special, I guess. Yeah, it's quite amazing walking through here in the morning. You get the light kind of piercing through the leaves, the trees. Very peaceful walking around here. Very. It's kind of interesting, there's actually not a lot of people around this morning. Generally got a lot of people walking their dogs. Maybe I'm just not in that area, which is alright. It's kind of an interesting little building. But with time, shadows grew. The 20th century brought new treatments, some helpful, others deeply controversial. Electroconvulsive therapy, insulin coma therapy, and even lobotomies, all were performed here. And then there are the stories whispered outside the gates of more than 1,000 patients buried in unmarked graves somewhere on these grounds. While official records are incomplete, local historians believe many long-term patients who died here never left the estate. True or not, it speaks to a time when mental illness could mean disappearing from the world entirely, in life and in death. From the 1970s, mental health care began shifting towards community treatment. Wards here closed one by one. In 1996, Sydney College of Arts moved in to Kirkbride complex, filling the sandstone halls with colour and life again. But by 2019, they were gone. Since then, much of Callan Park has been empty, a sleeping giant on prime Sydney land. Some buildings are now slated for demolition, part of the plan to rationalise the site. Others may be preserved if funding and politics allow. this is a massive building, eh? It's huge. Amazing building too. I'd love to have a walk through this place and just see what it looks like inside, walk the halls, kind of get a feel for the place. Yeah, stunning. Yeah, beautiful gardens around here, eh? Just so much nature. And there's a lot of little nooks and crannies like this just to walk about, have a look. You kind of really dig your feet in here and have a really good look around. Just might go for a little quick nosy up these stairs. Just have a wee look. A lot of it's really overgrown too, eh? Kind of helps give it that sort of eerie feeling. Look at that. That's amazing, eh? Absolutely amazing. Today, Callan Park is a place of contradictions. Dog walkers pass abandoned wards, artists paint in old nurses' quarters, sports fields ring with weekend games, while history sleeps behind boarded windows. For over 130 years, this was a place of care, of confinement, of innovation and controversy. Soon parts of it may be gone, but the stories will remain. And maybe, just maybe, we can decide which ones are worth preserving. Beautiful morning. Absolutely stunning here. Some old stairs going up. The old sandstone walls. Amazing. Huge blocks. Massive. Why did Callan Park close, and what happened to its last patients? By the time the 1990s rolled around, Callan Park was a shadow of its former self. But not in a romantic, ivy-covered way. In reality, the place had become a relic of its older, outdated system. Mental health care in Australia was shifting towards community-based treatment, and large institutions like Callan Park were seen as part of the problem. In 1994, Rozelle Hospital, which operated on the site, officially shut down. Some patients were moved to Concord and Westmead, others to group homes. For a few, it was a lifeline. For others, leaving the only home they'd ever known was devastating. Standing here, you can help but wonder, was it a mercy or just the end of an era? Were the treatment methods at Callan Park considered cruel by today's standards? If you think of straitjackets and padded rooms, you wouldn't be wrong, but that's the only part of the story. In the early 20th century, treatment often meant sedation, isolation, in some cases electric shock therapy. It wasn't unusual for patients to spend decades here, but it was important to remember at the time these methods were considered medical best practice. There were also progressive staff members pushing for art therapy, gardening and open-air activities. Today these old practices feel inhumane, yet in their time they were seen as cutting edge. That contrast is uncomfortable, but it's history. What is the current plan for the site, and why are some buildings being demolished? If you've been here lately, you might have heard the low rumble of machinery behind fences. Change is coming. The New South Wales Government and the University of Sydney have redevelopment plans for parts of the site, especially the crumbling buildings that can be saved. Some will be restored, others demolished for safety reasons. But many locals are fighting to preserve as much as possible, arguing that erasing the structures erases the stories. Walking here, you feel caught between two worlds, the need to move forward and the desperate urge to hold on. Did any famous or historically significant people stay at Callan Park? It's not just anonymous faces in the old patient records. Callan Park's history brushes against some remarkable figures. One of the most notable was the Australian poet Francis Webb, who battled mental illness for much of his life and spent time here in the 1960s. His poetry, often dark and vivid, was shaped in part of his years inside institutions like this. The place also held countless returned soldiers suffering from what we call PTSD after both World Wars. When you walk these paths, you're not just stepping over cracked concrete, you're walking through other people's unfinished stories. Are there any confirmed ghost stories or paranormal reports from the grounds? If you believe the locals and a few security guards, the past here never really left. Over the years, people have reported footsteps in empty wards, lights flickering in sealed buildings, and the faint sound of typewriters clacking late at night. Even though the offices have been abandoned for decades, while none of these are officially confirmed, the sheer number of accounts from unrelated people is hard to ignore. Fact or fiction, the feeling you get in certain corners of Callan Park is undeniable. It's the kind of quiet that makes you check over your shoulder. Can the public still access all areas of Callan Park, or are some parts restricted? It's easy to think you can just wander anywhere here until you bump into the padlock gates. Much of Callan Park is open to the public, the sprawling park grounds, sports fields and some heritage buildings, but the most derelict structures, especially the old wards and admin blocks, are fenced off for safety. There are holes in the fences, and yes, a few urban explorers still slip inside, but officially it's off limits, and maybe that's the part of the intrigue, knowing there are stories sealed behind those locked doors. Yeah, go up and have a look at these stairs actually. There's like a little sculpture or something up there, or fountain. Not quite sure what that is. Yeah, just a lot of little nooks and crannies you can go sort of explore, have a look around. It's pretty cool actually. Could spend a long time here, a lot of time actually. It's a cool little monument or something. I think it's this building here if I'm correct. maybe. My friend was saying that there's actually a music video shot in here somewhere. I think it's over this one, or that one down in there. And I think that the artist's name's Ricky Lee, and the name of the song is Crazy. So you can go check that out. It's actually kind of a pretty cool song too. You can give you an idea of what it looks like in there. Yeah, fascinating. Kind of pretty cool little building. It's very dilapidated and fallen to bits. You can just see it's super crumbling. And again, it'd be kind of interesting to know what all these buildings are. I was looking on the map trying to figure them out, but yeah, it doesn't really say too much about them, so. Get some great photos of these places in the morning with that light. It's awesome. So I guess that's about it for today. Yeah, fascinating place. Really, really interesting. I'm kind of glad I did this because I actually kind of learnt a bit of history on this place doing this. So yeah, it's cool. Well, I think that's about it. I might head off now, so like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.